Good morning. Happy Sunday. Aaron here, and I really love giving this Sunday message. Call it our Sunday message. And real quick, why am I doing this? Is because how many of us went to church? Raise the hands when we were little kids. And it was something that I personally did really every Sunday until I went to college, and then started to not go as much, but always something there for me. And Sunday initially was a time where people could get a message that inspired them, that they felt like they connected to something more than themselves. They were able to put away their concerns. And yet, how often nowadays do we really either move, or we're traveling, or we're in new locations, or maybe you just don't resonate with like a church anymore. Maybe religion in a certain church that you grew up in seems more limited. Maybe it just feels like there's maybe a little bit more. So maybe you just stop attending church. But yet there is still that draw, there's still that pull for us to get deeper connection, not only with each other, but with that which guides us and that which really created us, or that which gives us more purpose. So let me get right to it. What is this God thing? What is God? What is universe? People use the word source, God, universe, spirit. I mean, is that really all the same? What is that? How do we actually use that in our life? Because when we think about it, not that we're egotistical, but most of the time we're concerned about how is my life going, and how is this idea of God, this thing that's greater than me, how do I use that? How does that make a difference in my everyday life? So that is a great question, and I think that's the question that everyone is looking for, and that religion seeks to answer, and yet there has been something that has been more constrained, I feel. We're all human beings, and yet there's fears that come up with everyone. There is wanting to hold on, feel value. So let's just start with an analogy. I love stories, and I want to talk about how we can actually use God, how we can use the Spirit, use this universe that we live in to really create the life that we were meant here for. So here's the analogy. How many of us play with Legos? I hope I'm not the only one. I know I'm not, because I know my little nephews play with Legos all the time. If you can imagine yourself as a kid and you're playing with Legos, what happens? You have like an idea. And in the morning you may wake up and you're like, the kid says, I feel so fun, I'm going to make a dinosaur. I'm going to make a wheel, right? So they have some sort of feeling that they want to build with these Legos, right? So then they look over in their bin, and so they have some blocks that they can start to build with, right? Well, this is the first foundation of really how we start to construct our world, which is really what I wanted to talk about in the name of this. And so we start to build upon, with these Lego blocks as a kid, our ideas, our feelings, our emotions, what we feel like we want to create and see come built on these Lego blocks, right? So that's the personality. That is your soul that came here to the earth for a particular purpose, and you came here to be able to create, to experience. And that's at its very foundation. It's that intuition, it's that feeling that you have to create something, and you don't have it put together. You may not know what it looks like. Sometimes a kid just starts building and then it turns into something, right? So what's the second level? The second level I want to look at in how we start to construct our life, our world, is we start to get things from our parents and our family, right? So it's like, as a kid, you're sitting there and your mom or your dad or brother comes over and says, I've built Legos before. I remember this. And they say, here are some blocks. I've had these blocks for a long time. Here, take some of these blocks to build with. Or they may say, it took me like 5 hours to build like this structure. And so why don't you start with this, right? So what I'm getting at is our family starts to influence the material in which we can use to start to build upon, right? So instead of just being a pure creation as a kid, now your parents give you some building blocks. They may be of a certain color. They give you some ideas that they have from when they were a kid, and they say, I'm going to help you further along, right? So here, start with this. So now it doesn't necessarily come from us, but now we get sort of the material, the beliefs, and what I want to start to point to is we get these feelings, right? We start to get ideas, a blueprint, if you will, from family, and this still becomes a personal experience for us. Now let me start to move us along a little bit quicker. We go to school, right? And you start to get friends, and you start to find out what kids play the same sports as me. Who likes the color? Who likes these certain topics? Who likes math? Who likes science? And so you start to surround yourself with kids that then say, you know what, hey, let's try this. let's go over here, let's have a little community. So now you start to get, let's say, blocks or ideas from other people and friends around you. And you start to get this idea that, you know what, I actually go to a certain school. I actually live in a certain state. This becomes more impersonal, but we start to get material to build with. We start to get ideas, and well, unless we start to realize that they're not even our ideas necessarily. So we start to get that we live in the United States, and the United States is just a community or really an idea of a culture, but that we start to identify with. And so we start to take in all these blocks, and we start to put all these pieces together and things that people have suggested. Now you go to college, like, you should probably be an engineer. Now I'm speaking to myself. And you just go and do that because family and the people around you, they say, this is what it's like to live life, and here are the blocks, here's what we've constructed. You want to be like all these other places. So now you're walking around, imagine this Legoland that's getting huge. And you're walking around, you're navigating in it, and you start to see these skyscrapers, and they're made out of all these different color blocks, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like, this is just the life that I've been set into. Now, isn't that how it goes? We start to feel like this life was given to us, that we just kind of, however life went, life happens to us, and here are the blocks that we have to work with, and here is the job that we get to work in, and here are the people that have come into our life, and that's just really just it, isn't it? But it's not. If you go back and think about when a kid started to pure creation build on his own, you start to get that you could just knock all the Legos off of your own little Lego land piece, and now you can use some of the ideas, but more so, what if you started to feel back to the level one, the personality, what your soul came here for, and you start to see that you can start to create your own world. And yes, you can partner with other people, but you get to say how this goes. Now, this is what I want to talk about. This is what God is. This is what the universe is. This is what the Spirit is. It's all made out of Legos. So it's like one day you went, and all of a sudden you're at the manufacturer of Legos, and you realize that everything is made up of Legos. And it's just how people have constructed, from the blueprints that they've had, from the family, from the friends that they have gotten ideas from, that they've constructed these buildings, these ideas, these businesses, these partnerships, these families themselves, but it's all made out of Legos. It's all building blocks. That's what the Spirit is. That's what God is. And we get to come to that, and we can, from nothing, from what our soul desires, we can start to build our own land. Now watch what happens here. As you start to build and create, it integrates with the huge Legoland that everybody is building. People are building their own buildings. People are building dinosaurs. People are building wheels and cars. And yet we get to participate in that. We get to put our own stamp into the Legoland. But the question is, how big are you going to have it be? How impactful are you going to have it be? You can start to collaborate with others and say, this fits in. Why don't we do this together? And we get to co-create now, not only with others because they're a spirit that came here for a particular purpose, but now we get white color blocks, black color blocks, yellow color blocks, blue color blocks. We go to Legoland, and we realize that there's already structures that are built that we can just use ourselves. So this really, now when we get this sense of we are not at the effect of what else has been built, that we get to come into and share in this universe, we get to share in this creation of life, and we get to ultimately uniquely manifest what it is that we came here for. That's how we use God more so. We get used by God. We get used by the Spirit when we tap into our soul, our spirit, what we came here individually for. And this part where we talk about manifesting, that's actually taking an idea, a belief system, a feeling, an experience in our heart, and we use these blocks that we've been giving to put into the physical universe. Now, that's really the message that I wanted to share, because it made a lot of sense to me with the Legos. And really what I wanted to leave myself with, leave you with, is that it's collaboration. It's being used by something. It's seeing people around us as not only beautiful in what they are manifesting, but when we come with gratitude and joy and curiosity, we get to not only create with other people, but that's what a lasting legacy is about. Imagine when our physical bodies are no more. I mean, you still see skyscrapers, you see houses, you see businesses like Apple that are going to be for generations. And it all starts with an idea. it all starts with a purpose. It all starts with a feeling that I'm here for something more, and then that can last for generations when our physical is not here anymore. So, what are we willing to put aside and say, thank you for sharing your blocks with me, thank you for sharing your blueprint, and I want to collaborate with this person, I want to collaborate with this person, I have this idea that I want to manifest and bring into physical form. That's really what this game is about. And it's a beautiful thing. It's only when we have judgment and fear and comparison and all that come in that we realize that that we think that we're something separate, but it's all made out of the same thing. It all comes from Spirit, and we get to manifest that together. So that's the Sunday message. Thank you for jumping on. I really am out to just share this kind of message that we can all participate, we can all have this conversation, and like I was mentioning with the blocks, we can all come together with our own ideas. Jocelyn and I really are about couples, not only empowered couples, but empowering each other to create this kind of life together. What sort of legacy can we live? It's fun. This life can be fun, it can be beautiful, it's meant to be, and then we co-create with God, with the Spirit, and allow it to flow through us. So until next Sunday, until the next video, thanks for jumping on. Have a great Sunday.